All our friends and family are watching.
Oh my God, I'm embarrassed.
Holy criminy. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolutionary Live 420
but
special.
I think in terms of marijuana, I think, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states, yeah. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Well, the good people of the world celebrate the high holidays this weekend. And on this Easter, Passover, 420 conjunction, we remember Jesus was brought back to life with the help of holy cannabis oil. And this year, he came out of the cave, saw his shadow in the cannabis haze, indicating the start of spring, and gave the world a new prophecy, telling his followers, "Lo, cannabis shall be legalized in the U.S. by 4/20/2020." Oh, no, wait a second. That was Kevin Murphy, CEO of Acreage Holdings, after Canopy Growth bought his company for $3.4 billion. John Boehner, how do you think?
This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
I'll bet you are, just like the people over at Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network.
Happy 420 Vancouver. You ready to do this? 3, 2, 1. We want rocket.
Later.
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? I'm Dave Conan, and this is indeed Reefer Revolution Live, the show where we spark up. Talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures every day here at 420 Pacific on Reefer Revolution Live. And when I say we, of course, I mean my co-host in all things life, in all things cannabis, Coach Chela.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
What's up, Coach Chela? We are hoping our audio is going out great because apparently our entire family and friends are all watching on Facebook.
Don't keep reminding me.
I started a watch party on my Facebook page.
I wasn't invited to the watch party.
I'm going to figure that out in a second.
So we're clear.
I'm going to figure that out in a second.
You guys will be here.
Somebody invite Chela to the watch party. If our family is in there, say hello in the chat.
Oh, my God.
We are multi-streaming, guys, we think, over right now over YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, D-Live, and Weed TV, of course, the Cannabis Media Network. Thanks, everybody, for watching, joining us in every Sunday at 420 Pacific. Subscribe, get notifications, ring that bell for when we do go live. We went live this week, special stuff happening out of D.C. We'll talk about that a little bit this hour. But before we do, everybody's jumping in the chat. I see Gypsy Lady Lee and Laura P., Alabama in the house.
Representing Alabama.
We've got news from Alabama in the afterburn today, ladies. So welcome, welcome. MDN Niles in the house as well. So let us know who's jumping in over there on YouTube and D-Live. Got some folks jumping in over on D-Live. And I think some folks are over there on Facebook. At least that's what Facebook is telling me. Maybe they're not actually in there and Facebook is lying. I don't know. They wouldn't do that though, would they?
They totally would, dude.
Where are we smoking and what are we smoking, guys? We've got some SFV OG.
Mm-hmm.
We have with a little melange with some
Harlequin Tsunami.
Harlequin Tsunami to sort of mix it up, the CBD dominant with the THC dominant.
I like a nice CBD dominant. It just balances. It just seems to really, round out the whole experience.
Totally.
Mm.
Totally. Well, welcome everybody to the show. We do this every Sunday. Are you guys, where is everybody? Is everybody still
Sunday.
partying for 420? Is everybody hungover from their 420? There are still events going on. Coachella is still going on. I think this is now a 6-month event.
No, it's like 2 or 3
Coachella.
weekends.
So that's still going on. Sweetwater Festival's going on. That, of course, was from the the 420 at 420 up there in 420 Day in Vancouver, BC, where it has been once again a contentious struggle to get people to allow that to happen. The local jurisdiction, of course, if you know what's going on up there, you know, been following that, you know, it's more illegal now that it's legal. And the struggle, the revolution continues. To smoke in public is a revolutionary act, and that's really what 420 is all about. If
you have a certain privilege.
Yeah, if you have certain privilege, that's absolutely right. We certainly were consuming yesterday at the private events we were at, both Friday night and Saturday afternoon. There was certainly consumption, and perhaps, actually, we're going to go back to the old school days.
We consume all the time, though.
Of doing an edible at the top of the show. I'm going to start with the couple we picked up at this one event we were at yesterday.
Show the package.
Oh, yeah, before I rip it open. I think these are guys that are still working on their brand.
I don't
their platform.
exactly know what's going on with them, but they're vegan.
They're vegan. They say they're vegan. They're 20 milligrams gummies, and I'm going to take one right now. Are you going to take one as well?
I did.
You did already. Oh, okay, you already did. Problem is, this is a child-proof package.
It isn't. Just tear it open.
And I don't have my scissors.
Just,
oh, it's not.
Just tear it open.
Well, that tells me it's not compliant at all.
Well, this is a sample.
This is a sample, and that's a whole sticky situation as well.
This worms situation, I'm not sure about that.
You know, it's still the wild, wild west out here in California, guys. Craziness.
I'd say across all the cannabis space, there's still a lot of Wild West elements.
Techno Biscuit jumping in. Greetings from South Florida. I don't do
hey, CJ Poe.
a damn thing for 420. Just chilled at home. Too many crowded events. I hear you. We don't like crowds either.
We went to really, so we like to go early to stuff because we don't like big crowds either. We get a little. So we went early to both of the events we went to. Although they were both really lovely, not too crowded. I hope that was okay for the organizers.
Well, I should bring up your Instagram and show them.
Oh, yeah. That's a great idea. All right, so Friday.
Oh, Friday. We got to go to Friday.
That's Friday.
First. Is that Friday?
That was Friday.
That was Friday. You're right.
That was Friday.
Started during the day.
So Friday we went to a wonderful event in LA, where we live. You guys know we live in LA. This was in an area called, can the people see the picture? I don't know.
They now can, yes.
Okay.
The picture is live.
So
before we go into that, I just want to do a shout out real quick, because I am doing another edible as well.
Yes.
Are you doing a sucker too? You started.
I will do a sucker.
Okay, so this is we watched it. This is one of this event. You'll see a picture of here. This from yesterday that we were at.
Go backwards, whatever, if you want to start with that.
But I just want to say that we were at this second event, a USC cannabis event, which was quite cool. And Dirty Girl Edibles 2 on Instagram was there and showing us how to make lollipops at home with THC. And Chela got some photos and stuff from the. I don't know if you got any video. Did you get any video?
I got brief video,
but I got a lollipop, and that's what we're having right now. Mm-hmm. We're going to share those, have that this morning as well. Was made yesterday.
She makes beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
She taught the crowd how to make your own tincture at home, which I thought was awesome.
Totally. Oh yeah, she's quite a chef.
Yes, she's an amazing chef. And check her stuff out, you guys. So yeah, it was the Southern California Cannabis Business Investment Group. That's whose party it was that we went to.
Oh, look, their logo is cool.
That's where we went yesterday.
That's where we were yesterday.
Yes, that's whose party it was. Where
I was pretty high.
Where the Trojan Cannabis Network was one of the folks that was, meeting the folks of the Southern California Cannabis Business Investment Group, which they run through Meetup, which is interesting because I remember, Meetup was big when in the early O's, and I'm glad to see that it's happening again. I like that people are getting out into the world and meeting each other in real life, which is neat. As we did.
Super cool event.
Yeah, you might as well show the pictures from that event since we're talking about it.
Oh, now we'll go back to this picture.
Okay, sure. That's fine too.
That's when we arrived at the Sensi event.
So that was Friday. Dave. So that was Friday.
Friday.
In the sort of Hollywood Hills. It's off Laurel Canyon, so it's not really considered.
Mount Olympus, I believe.
It's not considered Hollywood Hills in LA. But anyway, so Mount Olympus, it was really beautiful at a lovely, beautiful home. Nicole West was the MC of the evening and did a really great job.
Amazing.
These panels were fantastic.
I was in awe of every panel.
Keep going on my pictures.
I wanted more.
Yeah. Oh, Ophelia from Stockpot Photography gave a really fun presentation about keeping your sense of humor and rolling with the changes in the cannabis space. She was really good. Dave said, "Wait, so she's a stand-up comic?" I'm like, "No, I made a joke that she was a stand-up comic."
Well, we're going to have to...
Nicole was also really funny.
Oh, my God. Yes. Great.
Women are so funny. And especially, I mean, when you go through tough shit, you have to keep a sense of humor about it. That's how we got through the Alzheimer's journey, and I feel like that's how, most, folks. Anyway, it's a great therapy. So there were great panels. Go ahead and keep scrolling through.
Got it. We're up.
All really great panels.
Harvest Honey, Sensi Magazine, Lit Club were all there.
Yeah.
This was the panel on holistic health, I believe.
Yes. All really great. And there was a business panel and a law panel. I don't know what you're showing. I don't know what's live.
Oh, this is the health and wellness panel.
I don't know what's live. Point with your lollipop for me. Thank you very much. That's live. Thank you.
Point with the lollipop.
Super. Awesome. So keep going. I wish I had a clicker.
Oh, and there's Ariel Clark and the legal panel.
Oh, that was fantastic.
We have an interview with Ariel Clark in the 5 o'clock hour.
That's right. At 5 o'clock, we have some interviews coming up. We're excited about them.
Clark Newbert.
So keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Legal panel.
Keep going.
Then there was the business panel.
So it was a Women of Sensi event. And
then
there's the outside. It was nighttime.
Happening.
Lots of people came. But you guys, know us. We like to go to these things for the panels. We're there for the panels. We're there for the education. I
like to go for the dab bars.
There was a dab bar at this event. It was really exciting. It was really fun. It was really great. Lit Club was there. They were sharing their flower and their fun packaging, and it was great. It was a good time.
Their packaging.
It was a good time. We look forward to other Sensi events. Follow them on Instagram. Yeah. And then 420, the next day, we went to an event, the Southern California Cannabis Business Investment Group.
Yeah, that was
put on a party at Melody.
Yep.
That the Trojan Cannabis Network basically invited us to, and we connected with them at the State of Cannabis. So you guys, this flower brings us all together, and we meet all these amazing, wonderful people and have these great experiences by leaving our homes and going to these events.
Oh, and there's our lollipops being made right there.
That's right. Well, she already had some made, but she was demonstrating. It was great. It was great.
And there was a dessert.
Oh, there was another really great chef who made a beautiful dessert.
A demo?
Yeah, with an infused caramel that he made with can of butter.
Super. Oh, there it is. Ooh, yes.
It's beautiful and delightful with the microgreens.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
There was a great microgreens vendor there that we got some microgreens from.
And what the heck is this little
Oh
thing?
my God, that's Nugget. Nugget was a guest of one of the people there. It's one of their dogs.
A dog named Nugget.
Oh my goodness, that dog was just too much. And so Nugget got passed around.
Listen, it was literally the size of
it was like
my hand.
It was adorable.
It was tiny.
It was so cute.
Tiny size. But that was cool. We met some amazing
fun people
looking towards investing in and being part of the getting into the cannabis business, expanding their cannabis business.
Yeah.
Surprising, there were some very intriguing panels there, and vendors, and one was a technology company that was offering a dark web scan of emails. And let's just say, change your password. That's all I got to say.
Change it.
That's all I got to say. Change your password and do two-factor authentication. If you're not doing two-factor authentication, your password is your email, and a real password from some point in your life is probably on sale on the dark web for some reason. And there are ways you can check that. I don't have any links in front of me, but there are ways that you can find services. That's what this was really. He was a tech service that was offering. He's like, well, this is what we do. And one of the things we, came across, and we have this service, and I should check it out. And it was an interesting way to get people over to his table. Your cards are somewhere. I shouldn't mention his name later. And thank you for letting us know that we need to change all of our passwords and do two-factor authentication. Yes, everything's out there. It's true on the internet. But that was a great event. It was awesome. We had a great time. We didn't do anything big. Hippie Hill was going off. We've got video stories in the afterburn about the big parties that were going on this week. What you were saying, Chel?
It was nice to just be kind of low key. I didn't want to be around hundreds and hundreds of people, and I certainly didn't want to go shopping. I wanted to be in nature. You guys, most of you guys in the chat, everybody watching probably, are regular cannabis consumers. So 420, before it was legal, was an exciting day, and that was fun. And, even getting together in groups, that was still some, exciting stuff because it was not legal. It was civil disobedience. So now that it's legal in California, it's sort of becoming this, Black Friday kind of vibe. And I find that repugnant.
Well, so that's definitely, we're going to get into the news.
We went to a low-cost thing, and it was nice to be around like-minded people. It was good. That was nice.
We're going to get into the news here. Cynthia Charette is definitely watching on Facebook.
Oh, great. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, girl. Happy Easter.
And I did invite you. To the watch party on Facebook, so you could engage over there.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody, whoever's joining in on whatever platform you're on. This is Reefer Revolution Live. Subscribe, get notifications, like, thumbs up, share. Invite people to the watch party. We do this every Sunday at 4:20, multi-streaming on numerous platforms for as long as they'll have us because of our content, talking about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot, and cannabis cures, as I'm going to now put down this lollipop from the noise factor.
We also depict...
and spark up another.
We depict cannabis use, so that's an issue as well.
That's really the issue. With a lot of everybody, all the platforms. You can't advertise, you can't promote.
You all
it is a revolution.
Showing you this stuff, we could advertise probably.
And there are other groups and people that have figured out a way to do it on the YouTube. We just haven't figured it out yet. So if you'd like to become a patron or donate on Steambot, feel free. The link is in the description on the YouTube site. Welcome everybody in the YouTube jumping in the chat. Cannabis Sativa jumping in. Jocelyn Russell's in there. Blaster Master has joined us. Terry Hyoven, shout out from Molly, Michigan. Welcome. CJ Apo. We have Illinois news in the afterburn tonight. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us on whatever platform you're on. I think Chela's going to try to jump into the Facebook and say, hey, if you're in there, are you? Awesome. You, of course, can follow us on all the socials at DC420LA and at Reefer Rev Show. And that's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I do most of my tweeting over on Twitter. I don't know about you. But that's where I tweet, at DC420LA. That's where you'll see the most action from me. And I put up all the stories that I find throughout the week as soon as I find them. As sort of a breaking news feed, if you will, I guess, plus my comments on other political topics. But that pretty much sets up our news feed for the Cannabis Chronicle, which is what we talk about here on Sundays during the first hour. You can find that over at dc420la.com and subscribe to that newsletter that comes out once a week, and we will get into that news here shortly. You can also follow Chela over on the Instagram at Reefer Rev Show. She's revving up the Instagram over there, doing more posting as we work through our millennial.
We're fumbling our way through
boomer struggles, and
we're just putting stuff up that we're doing, and trying to share the fun.
Share the fun. Have fun. It's all about. It really is all about having fun.
Yeah, we're having fun. I don't want it to be humbug. I really don't. We don't do it for humbug. If it gets to be humbug, we're gonna be out of here. It's that simple.
Right.
I don't want humbug.
So don't share the channel. Don't let anybody know about it. We like our 40 people watching, and then
Just a few people, a few friends, family. Okay, now I'm getting used to the idea. It's all right. We can all hang out on Sunday afternoons. I'm good with that.
I figure if YouTube shuts us down, we've made a footprint and we have some reach. So
Yeah, no, it's all good.
share, subscribe, and let people give likes because we can hit that algorithm to get us shut down on YouTube. And then we'll end up just on DLive.
Keep it between us.
The decentralized blockchain. Hi, everybody over on DLive watching. If you are, drop a little note in the chat. I'm monitoring that as well. Got chats going down over here. Let's get into the news, shall we? Man, what a big week for news. Of course, it was 420, in case you didn't notice yesterday. It was 420 all over the world, and particularly here in California and in the new states that are legal, and in Vancouver. But of course, the 420 event has really become a corporate event now. It's jumped the shark, I think. I don't know about you guys. What do you guys think in the chat?
Kind of like vegan.
What do you, has 420 now jumped the shark now that Carl's Jr. is putting CBD in their burger, which sold out in 2 minutes apparently yesterday. That we have yet it's illegal. I'm sure the FDA didn't shut them down.
Was anybody in Denver? Did anybody try the CBD burger? Or do we only have vegans in the chat?
Or are there only vegans? No, I think we have several
could be
non-vegans in the chat. I don't know, maybe in Colorado too. And it was only in one store in Colorado. But certainly everybody was capitalizing on 420. All the presidential candidates, all of the companies, all of the brands. Of course, some some were fans of, some were not. But one corporation that did try to make at least an effort, I think this week was probably top of the list. Ben and Jerry's, at least trying to draw the correlation between, let's be blunt about justice at 420 this holiday and making sure that legalization without justice is half baked. Maybe is that one of their flavors? I'm thinking
that would be good.
But they have a petition going that they've started. 31,000 signatures, 668 right now. I signed it. But that, of course, is a big issue. We were at the State of Cannabis. That was the overall theme and focus of that event, that expo last week. And, it's here we have the new hallmark holiday known as 420 in Canada, in California, all across the country. And of course, next year, perhaps it's going to be even bigger, being that it will be 420 in 2020. So we're expecting a lot of big things and a month-long celebration next year. And will that celebration include the legalization of cannabis?
That'd be nice. I'll
tell you who thinks so is the CEO over at Acreage Holdings. Because Canopy Growth, I don't know if you heard this. This was sort of broke last Friday night, actually. Friday it broke. That Canopy Growth is going to buy, or is willing to buy, Acreage Holdings. We know about Acreage Holdings. We talk about it every week. Because John Boehner is on the board. He's all in. Cannabis, he's all in. Have you seen, this is a back of a $10 bill. You see that? See what's there? Those are American farmers harvesting cannabis. That's on the back of a $10 bill. Did you know that George Washington grew cannabis? I've changed my opinion. Yes. It looks like Acreage Holdings is going to get bought for $3.4 billion with a B. Billion dollars. Here's the rub, if cannabis, marijuana, is legalized. AKA marijuana, is legalized in the United States. That's the rub. It has to be voted on, and it basically is the biggest, most highest value cannabis company in Canada is going to purchase the largest American medical cannabis company in a merger when legalization happens. And when is that legalization going to happen? Well, we're going to have some video in the afterburn. But a friend of ours, a good friend of ours, follows us over on Twitter, longtime friend of ours, Marilyn Mick, who enjoys the show, I hope, I'm going to find her tweet here. I didn't. Here it is.
Marilyn Mick is responsible for the quote.
Yes.
One of our favorite quotes of all time. Don't take my herb, man.
It's in the movie, Marilyn.
Yep,
in the
immortalized in the movie. We should send you the full script.
That's right. We should, yes. Marilyn might actually be able to help us get it produced. But Marilyn certainly is follows me over on Twitter and follows the issue of cannabis. And this was in the Asia Times she caught. Canadian cannabis giant bets on U.S. legalization. Canopy Growth agrees to purchase U.S. firm pending future legalization. Quote, we believe it takes place sooner than others anticipate. I'm going to call within the next 12 months, 18 months on the far side, unquote. Acreage's chairman said this week. That is, I believe, the same gentleman that's been appearing on CNBC multiple weeks in a row and making lots of moves with Acreage Holdings in California and other states. It's been nonstop, and you're going to see how confident those guys are in the afterburn. So make sure you stick around for that. But there you go, guys. That's the largest acquisition in cannabis that's going to be taking place. $3.4 billion. Yes, Techno Biscuit, it is hilarious to see these former prohibitionists all of a sudden finding green Jesus. They've come to green Jesus on this 420, who is risen from the holy cannabis oil, the cannabis, looked into the smoke and said, there shall be legal cannabis in 420 2020. As the haze clears, cannabis will be legalized. Of course, the banks will get their money in between there with the Safe Banking Act. That's happening. The States Act might even pass before then. And maybe, just maybe, they're talking about the ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act, which is the only bipartisan bill in Congress, and it's being completely ignored. Essentially, it's being just, sidelined. Yes, go ahead.
No, I was saying preach,
Oh,
Dave,
preach. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, they were raising double hands.
No, I'm like, yeah, baby, yeah.
But really, Tulsi Gabbard's bill, it's not her, it's her bill in the sense that she introduced it again this year with Representative Don Young of Alaska. It has 25 co-sponsors. That's it right now. But they're all bipartisan. It's Republicans and Democrats because it is a clean deschedule. We asked the representative straight up at the state of cannabis, will your bill allow Alexis Bortel to travel? Will it allow people to go onto federal property with their medicine? Will it do that? Will you be able to, go into a post office? Will you be able to get on a plane? And essentially, she said in one word, yes. It's a clean deschedule. It just removes cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. It doesn't put anything on the states one way or another. It just takes that out of the equation. Now, is FDA going to want to get involved? Look at the CBD nonsense that's going on with the FDA. Yet to be seen, but our big goal is descheduling. Get it off the Controlled Substances Act. And here we have a bipartisan bill. The Marijuana Justice Act is a great bill. Really glad it's being introduced again by Cory Booker and Barbara Lee. Fantastic bill. Everybody's on board it, but they're all Democrats. Rather, let me qualify that. It's only Democrats that are on board, I think, in both houses. So, now, it was said on Jimmy Dore just yesterday, he had another interview with Tulsi about the marijuana bill. I thought I heard her say that there's a companion in the Senate. I haven't found it yet, but I could be wrong about that. I just, I'm not the best. It was quick because today I found that video. So, check that out, Jimmy Dore. Awake. Hey, hello. Happy Easter to you as well.
My goodness, it's a full house of Alabamans.
Happy Easter to you as
well. We got our Alabamans, all of them.
And we've got an Alabama decriminalization story for Easter, which is nice.
It's not super decriminalizing.
Well, it's not super.
Spoiler alert. It's not as good as we need to be, but it's a step in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's better, but we're not there yet.
Infused chocolate sauce on the ice cream. Yes, that's a good idea too. The caramel sauce worked very well. I don't know why the chocolate sauce wouldn't work as well.
Yeah.
But yes, the infusion, it seems it's pretty. One thing I did pick up from that was that it was very much the same old. You got to make the butter first. You got to know how to make your can of butter. Once you learn how to make your can of butter, you can pretty much do anything. If you make
you got to have
What's that?
You got to have like your whole
good
thing
base.
can of butter. You're
Yeah.
ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, you
Once
don't
you
have to make it there.
Once you know how to make a good can of butter with the right dosage you want in it, then
Or
you know.
tincture, like dirty. What's the name again?
Well, as you're thinking, I'll say hi to Canuck Cultivore, saying Happy Easter. Grow-alicious jumping in. Holy Cannabis Oil has made it. Happy Easter. Holy Cannabis Oil. I made a joke at your expense in the open. Please rewind at some point and see that. Not really. I was
wasn't
just
a joke.
honoring.
It
was a joke honoring you for what you make, and in honor of this day. And I hope I did not offend. But welcome everyone on this convergence of the high holy days.
True story. Convergence.
And of course, if you have just joining us on Facebook, our family, if you've watched the show for the first time, Holy Cannabis Oil is one of our regular viewers, good friend of the show. Met him up in the Emerald Triangle at the Emerald Cup. Makes an amazing CBD oil product from the OG recipe from the Bible. And he makes one that's kind of snappy too, that's got THC in it. But both of those were very effective for us, especially in Mom's transition. So
yeah.
we jest, but we love and thank you and honor Holy Cannabis Oil for what he does and the work he does. And especially on this day, shout out to you.
Yeah, it's his
what
big
you're doing.
day because the formula that he follows, that he uses, is the formula that anointed Jesus and allowed him to rise. So
We think so. That with a little bit of aloe vera
yeah,
was on the pile. But certainly there was some cannabis in that pile, as cannabis has been part of human archaeological finds and civilization throughout history. Anytime you find an archaeological dig with humans in it, cannabis is not far nearby. And so it's been part of us. The CBD endocannabinoid system has been around much longer than humans, sea squirts had them. So the plant is holy. And part of our evolution and part of our development. So welcome everybody on this day. We know there are not great things happening, but we try to focus on the positive and the good things in cannabis and good things in life, because we do believe when you recreate, you medicate, and it uplifts you, it opens your eyes, it makes you closer to your inner God, your inner spirit. Or even your outer God. That's why they banned mushrooms in beer. The Catholic Church said, "Nope, can't put those mushrooms in the beer. You need us to get to God." Well, all of the sacred herbs and medicines have been demonized throughout the years and the centuries and the millennia, because it helps us go inside and see things and raise ourselves. So welcome everybody on this day, and thank you for being here and watching the show, joining in. And thanks, fam, if you are watching on Facebook. Welcome to the watch party. Let's continue in the news. Just rambling, really, about what's going on over at the Cannabis Chronicle, DC420LA.com. But we were just talking about mushrooms, and we often do here on the channel, because, well, yes.
psychedelics.
In general.
Top story is all about.
Listen, the Controlled Substances Act was created, and all of the mind enhancing and elevating substances were put on there, as well as other cultural drugs used at the time for different reasons, different reasons. One reason, racism and anti-Semitism. But here we sit with some of the most amazing possibilities of psychedelics. And as low as low on the list as cannabis, and as high on the list as LSD, MDMA, which is getting amazing research. And so, yes, our top story this week was from our good friends over at Project CBD, which is an amazing resource. If you don't have it yet, especially you newcomers watching or listening to the show, go to Project CBD to learn some good stuff. This site created by the author of this article posted yesterday on Project CBD, psychedelics and cannabis therapeutics. High doses of THC are hallucinogenic, and microdosing LSD is a lot like CBD. These mighty molecules can relieve human suffering, and they act through the endocannabinoid system. By Martin Lee, actually posted on April 17th this week. Chela, you met Martin Lee personally at the Emerald Cup?
Yes, I met him. You know, he was
Spoke with
doing a
him?
talk at the Emerald Cup, and I had him sign my book, Smoke Signals, which is an amazing book by Martin Lee. He's not a doctor. He's an incredibly well-respected journalist who co-founded ProjectCBD.org. So if you guys don't know about ProjectCBD.org, make sure that you go to ProjectCBD.org, follow that story, read it, check out all the other stuff they have, because you can search their website and find links to studies on PubMed that are for all the different things that you're looking for. That's where I found a lot of the studies that I filled up my big Cannabis Helps Dementia book with, and they're a really excellent resource. So please do take advantage of ProjectCBD.org and follow Martin Lee. He does amazing, amazing work.
Well, the article really talks about some of the stuff that we've been talking about. I mean, there's new books out about the research. MAPS, of course, doing a lot of the research on this in this field. MDMA is very close to a phase 3, if it's not already in phase 3 by somebody. One thing about cannabis is, cannabis at this point, the way it is scheduled, and the way the FDA works, cannabis can never, in its flower form, can never go through a phase 3 trial, because you cannot have the, what do they call it? The final product that goes out to the consumer has to be in that phase 3. And a flower is inconsistent on, certain levels. So you can't get a flower into a phase 3 FDA trial. That's why drugs like Epidiolex, which is a cannabis-based flower, the first flower-based CBD medicine that has been approved by the FDA, that was hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars at least, to get it through the FDA process, is why it's now, for CBD oil from cannabis, it's $32,000 a year to use because of all the trials going through. A lot of other companies that we know of that are trying to get their medicine on the market in these legal cannabis states to try to raise money to go through these trials because it's so costly. But it has to be in that form that they can deliver at the very end in a phase 3. Now we got to change things at the FDA, the pharmacopoeia, and allow flower at some point, because there's a study coming out by Dr. Sue Sicily this year that was just completed with veterans and smoked flower for PTSD. And the report is going to be amazing from what we hear. And when it's published, you're going to see smoked flower as one of the most, if not the most effective medicine for veterans and PTSD. And so, that, of course, that kind of research has been obstructed, delayed. It's terrible weed that you have to work with. Imagine what you can do with some good California medicine for these guys. And these guys are in California, Weed for Warriors. That's what they do out here everywhere, really, is to provide the good medicine that's being grown wherever they are for the vets. Where to do any research with cannabis in the United States, you have to get it from one farm. It's like 6% THC. It's basically swag. And it's really super hard to get. And we've been trying. Activists are still trying, and doctors are writing letters and trying. It's like, please let somebody grow some good cannabis that we can study. So to hear that, and you were saying that Martin Lee was at a recent psychedelic.
Yes. At
convention,
Esalen, at Esalen,
Esalen,
they had an amazing psychedelic conference for 5 days. There were all these amazing speakers and stuff, and so he was one of the speakers at that event, and that probably helped inspire this article about all the different ways that psychedelics are beneficial to the human brain. It's my feeling that we should completely do away with the Schedule 1 of drugs because of how it was created and under what circumstances. And
do you think
false premises?
You'd think there'd be a Supreme Court argument for that. A equal protection under the law argument for that, considering now that we know we have the tapes as to why Nixon said, I want to go after marijuana big time. Bigly. He didn't say bigly. But he definitely wanted to go after marijuana for all the wrong reasons, and made it so that the Controlled Substances Act was part of that. So yes, it was created on a premise of not equal protection under the law, and you'd think you'd have an argument for that. So that might be a way to go for it. But there, of course, we know the federal cannabis lawsuit is happening. Alexis Bortel, friend of the show, one of the plaintiffs in that. That's one way of going. And Representative Tulsi Gabbard and Don Young's straight, clean repeal, ending federal, the Trump Act. I said they should call it the total repeal of unjust marijuana prohibition. See how that flows? Doesn't that flow better?
So much better
than the ending federal marijuana prohibition act? Because they all say it wrong. They all stumble on it. Everybody stumbles on it. And it's been, because that's the way that's what's been, this idea, this, I don't know if this specific wording, but this 1-page idea of a clean deschedule has been around for a while. It was the first bipartisan bill introduced, I believe back in the 90s. Is it the 90s? Late in the early 2000s? Since 1937, introduced a bipartisan bill to remove cannabis from the Controlled Substances Act. So this is actually the strongest bill because it's the cleanest. I know we watched this week. We were live for the second annual U.S. Cannabis Policy Summit in Washington. It was on C-SPAN. I believe it was Thursday. And we went live to watch some of that, a little bit of watch party in an afterburn style. And unfortunately, I kept agreeing with Grover Norquist on his panel about how basically they write laws and then they, 700 pages, the first laws in the first 4 pages and the 696 pages are taking away what they just gave you in the first 4 pages. So I think a 1-page clean deschedule is the way to go, as do a bipartisan group do. And I think NORML is pushing that right now. They're trying to use their lobbying power to move that through. Some other folks are doing that, according to Tulsi Gabbard's latest interview with Jimmy Dore. And our interview with her at the State of Cannabis exclusive interview, which you can see on Reefer Revolution Live here on YouTube. Check it out. It's also on the Facebook page, Hemp Saves the World, because, Facebook doesn't like the word cannabis. But the videos are both up there. You can see our interview.
They still won't let us.
They still won't let us do anything with it. Yeah, even with hemp instead of
rude. Whatever. I'm starting another page that they're not going to let me boost or share or find. That's Cannabis Helps Dementia. Fuck it. I'm going for it. I'm telling the whole world. I don't care.
0 fucks.
Yep.
Speaking of which,
yeah.
Let's light up again. As we look at a couple more stories before we get into our videos from the State of Cannabis, a couple interviews to preview for you, premiere for you. This article in Forbes, Andre Baroque, I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, writing in Vices. And this sort of plays into one of the videos we're going to play today, how cannabis prohibition is harming veterans suffering from PTSD and other ailments. This conversation is not new. And it is the one that is great that is being talked about on 420. But we have been talking about that, and the veterans have for a long time, groups like Weed for Warrior Projects and Veterans Cannabis Coalition, who is the CEO and founder, Eric Gopal. We're going to play a portion of his panel from the State of Cannabis that we covered and are putting up panels. The first panel will be up, the full panel will be up starting tomorrow, this week. We're going to put it up. The keynote speech from Tulsi Gabbard is up on the channel. You can watch that, as well as a little behind-the-scenes green room action with Eric, with Cheryl Schumann, co-founder of the Beverly Hills Cannabis Club, or founder of the Beverly Hills Cannabis Club, and also our little interview, our 3 minutes with the representative and presidential candidate, which I think, used quite effectively. And tried to get her.
We had 3 minutes.
We had 3 minutes, but we did try to get her on to board the change of the name to the Total Repeal of Unjust Marijuana Prohibition Act.
That was super cute.
The Trump Act, just put it in front of him. He won't even read it. He'll just sign it. It'll be a done deal. You got to know. You got to know how to exploit it, people.
That's right. The Trump Act. Mr. President. It's popular with 95% of Americans.
That's right. That's right.
Done.
Oh, and speaking of that, there it is. There it is. Civilized writing about that this week.
I took that
actually
off the headlines. It was horrible.
We did. Cannabis consumers could be a silent swing vote in 2020.
Fish.
That's bad news for Trump.
So nice.
Really, is that bad news for Trump? I don't know. I think it might be. All the Democrats are on board, except for Joe Biden. Joe Biden has not committed, and he applauded some reefer madness nonsense at some event. So it seems to be not only lagging in announcing as he continues now to drop in the polls instead of going up. They have now reversed, if you guys haven't noticed, before even announcing. And he's also the last holdout on being all for cannabis legalization in the Democratic field. So that's interesting. And so who is going to be a problem for if we do say it, if Donald Trump embraces this issue as he said he'd sign the States Act, if he goes that far, even he may get a leg up on what's going on for 2020. As we've always said, 2020, Cannabis 2020, we've been saying on the show for 2 years now. Hey, family, we've been doing this show for 2 years.
Yeah, but really, I feel like we're ever evolving. So like each week, it's like we just started the show.
It's like a new show. It has certainly evolved over those 2 years. So we actually have decent audio now. It's been 2 years
decent audio.
Getting that going.
We have sort of a format.
Blaster Master's
oh
using
my God,
his
it's
extreme.
5:05, Dave.
I know. I'm trying to work through the rest of these. Blumenauer, House will pass cannabis banking reform and consider rescheduling. That's going on in the House out of Marijuana Business Daily. What else? The psychedelics. Yes, the PTSDs. Screwed as usual on this 420. Oh, were you worried that your house would lose its value when marijuana moves in? If they legalize pot and bring in all those dispensaries and all those potheads, recreational users, my property values are going to go down. Wrong. Going up, people. They go up. Just a little, let me see if I can get a quote out of it. But basically, I think it's up 20,000 without even a dispensary opening up. As soon as the state legalizes recreational, your house value goes up by about 20 grand. So that's interesting, out of normal. What else? Of course, ACLU letting us know that marijuana legalization is a racial justice issue. That's why it was stopped. One of the reason it was stopped in New York was for social equity reasons. We know that. Doctors also harming patients with their lack of education and information on cannabis. You might as well not ask your doctor about cannabis because they haven't been trained in it. That's what you should ask your doctor. Somebody always says, oh, well, before you use cannabis, make sure you ask your doctor. Well, first question is, ask your doctor how much training they've had in the endocannabinoid system.
First question.
That's the question. Number one.
Any doctor you ask about cannabis, before you ask about cannabis, you say, hey, doctor, I've heard about the endocannabinoid system. Do you know anything about it? And if they go yeah or no, you know if you should proceed. You don't have to out yourself in front of your doctor.
We found out in the last couple of days at one of these amazing panels, I believe it was Nicole that told us, might have been, that there are only 9 medical schools, and I'm going to get this list. There's only 9 medical schools in the United States that teach the endocannabinoid system. And so we're going to try to find out, just determine whose those are.
Yeah, I want to support them. And
so figure out, start sending people. But that's the first question. And especially if they start telling you, oh, no, we don't, there's not enough research in cannabis. That's your first giveaway that they haven't studied anything about the endocannabinoid system. So yeah, we're not doctors. I played one on TV. We're not lawyers. I think I played one of those too. But we probably know more about the endocannabinoid system than 90% of the doctors in the United States.
But not more than Techno Biscuit. Techno Biscuit is an actual doctor.
Oh, thank you, Techno Biscuit. Yay.
Yeah, a good doctor in Florida.
Does Techno Biscuit know which are do you, off the top of your head, which medical schools teach the endocannabinoid system? Because I heard that number and we want to verify that.
We heard on Saturday that only 9 medical schools teach the endocannabinoid system. Do you happen to know which ones they are?
Right.
I could ask the SCC, I suppose, of which Techno Biscuit is a member, which is cool. But yeah, I feel like they at least need to know the basics of the endocannabinoid system. I feel like that's at least as much as we know, at least as much as you can read on projectcbd.org. They should know at least that much if they're treating us.
Dr. Fish knows more about the endocannabinoid system, certainly, over there on Facebook joining in. Thanks for joining over there, Doc.
Yes.
And usually, and that really is, that was for, for 20 years, the collective system in California has been experimenting with this plant, with patients, with veterans, with cancer patients, with kids, with, and all of it untested, by the way, all of it untested, unregulated. And I'm pretty sure in that 20 years, we never killed anybody in California. Pretty sure. And now all of those collectives are gone because there's no nonprofit model in California anymore. And they're putting off trying to figure out how to do that. And their compassion is struggling to come back to California with SB, or is it SB 34?
Yeah,
AB 34?
34. It's Assembly Bill, AB.
AB 34.
AB 34.
So that, luckily, and with all the work of all the lobbyists on the ground, Canna activists from the veterans groups and everyone up there working in Sacramento, getting that through and defeating the stopping delivery bill, because depending on who you talk to, remember 60 to 70% of California cannabis is verboten.
Yeah.
It is illegal to have any commercial cannabis activity. You can use it in your house locked up with the windows closed if you're not in an apartment. But other than that, cannabis is perfectly legal in 70% or 60% of the state, depending on who you talk to, licensing. Oh, and don't forget, as of the end of April, happy 420, the legal number of cannabis grow operations in California goes from about 7,000 temporary licenses to probably 1,500 permanent licenses as of May 1st. So your legal cannabis shops might be having sales today and over the next week to move some product, or maybe they're stocking up because they're going to be unable to get some. But it's just certainly a concern when that crash happens, and it's yet to be seen. This is a new market, Wild Wild West. Some of the crashes that have been predicted didn't really happen because nobody destroys weed. Let's just be frank.
No.
Let's just be frank.
No.
So
those of us
we'll see what happens next week.
Those of us who've been in and around cannabis for a long, long time, like most everybody in the chat, like Dr. Fish, like us, are gonna, know what are the good things versus the bad things, and the good growers and the not good growers. And, you're not gonna, people for 20 years before it was regulated under medical, there were no cases of people getting sick, nobody dying of or having problems from, mold and
really.
Pesticides and things like that.
Just thousands of people haven't shown up in emergency rooms over the last 20 years from toxic poisoning. Literally,
medical was only just started getting regulated a couple years ago before it was legalized. Just a few years.
We literally met our first person that is apparently suffering from cannabis hyperemesis syndrome. Hyperemesis syndrome.
Yeah.
First person I've ever met.
She was one of the hosts of one of the panels, Alice Moon.
And is completely bummed that she can't smoke cannabis anymore.
Uh-huh.
Sean Kiernan on one of the panels at State of Cannabis says, we kind of think these guys are either smoking some of that bad weed, change your strain, change your supplier, know your grower, or it's the bad pipe or something else is going on. But it's a very rare occurrence, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, but still, beyond that, I mean, where are all these people and kids and old people and and cancer patients that are using all of this dirty weed for 20 years?
Listen, like everybody says,
dirty Rick Simpson oil.
No, oh my God.
No, I'm being
Small
facetious.
Tubes has CHS.
Do you really?
Small Tubes, tell us more, please.
Please educate us.
Educate us.
I trust Small Tubes.
Well, because we know Small Tubes.
Yeah, he's been around. I see him all the.
So tell us more about that. Can you use CBD? What's your story? Tell us more. Can you do a tincture? What's the deal?
And is it that rare? I mean, do you find very few people that have it? I mean, I guess now we're meeting. We're exposing our show to more and more people that are involved in the industry and around.
All 28 of them.
We're here to educate ourselves too, because
keep this between us, you guys. Don't tell anyone about the show.
Don't share about the show. But let's get into some of the state of cannabis stuff, because we're past our
we're
past
well
our
over the
5
time.
o'clock hour.
I was just, it was funny because I was just saying, oh, now the show's evolved and we have more structure and blew up my structure.
Well, you know, I had to do.
all right, it's
I had to
5:15.
I had to do old jokes for new viewers. I had to do stuff. I had to hook. There's people
I
I
mean,
went.
you do have
There's
an
people I
audience,
went to
28
acting.
people.
There's people I went to acting school watching on Facebook
I
right now.
can't believe that I'm so glad that I can't see that all those people, all
that's
10
at
of
least
those
that's
people
what
are
at least what
watching
it says
in
is this
Facebook,
person
'cause I'd
joined,
be
that person joined.
just
Oh my
be
god.
really shy right now.
Oh my god. Say
Oh
something
my
on
goodness.
Facebook so I actually
One
know
of
you're
the
there.
people that I know from work, who doesn't really know me at work, I met him in organizing, likes all my posts and the burning pages and stuff. And it's so embarrassing because I don't expose this part of myself to my work.
Oh, honey.
Ever.
You
now
are
I'm
no
a whole
longer
other person.
You are no longer. You have bloomed, as they say. You are budding into a fabulous cola.
Yeah, thank you, babe.
taking the lead as the front. Apparently, Mr. Coach Chela over here is in the back. Should stay in the background.
You support me.
I do. There
I
was
can't
a
do
lot of good.
anything without you.
There was a lot of good husband support there last night for Dirty Girl,
Well, it's a time for
Edibles
women,
2, and the
women are coming
Cannabis
up.
Circle, and the Sensi event was super empowering.
Women are coming up.
And amazing. And well, you know, here's the struggle as we get into we are gonna get into Eric Gopel, the founder and CEO of the Veterans Cannabis Coalition, was at the State of Cannabis, and we're going to listen to his talk on the first panel because it is an issue that was brought up, and it's in the Cannabis Chronicle this week, and it is an issue every week. Veteran access to cannabis and medicine, because it is medicine that they've been using for a long time in California, and access is getting harder. Strange, isn't it? Legal. It's legal in California, and access is getting harder for people that need it. Interesting. And we knew, not that we didn't know it was going to happen, because we did, and that's why we weren't big supporters of Prop 64, honestly.
Right.
Do we like regulated, legal, tested stuff? Sure.
Yes.
Except you got to wash your romaine 3 times before you eat it. Nobody seems to give a crap about that.
There's that. Yeah, it'd be nice if we could regulate all agricultural products in a similar fashion. Because I don't want my romaine to be garbage that I have to wash 3 times, and my cannabis to be ridiculously pure that you destroy shit for the smallest little thing. Because, let's just slow down a minute and see, of course we want things regulated and tested in that regard, but come on.
And the testing right now is such a fazool. There are so many few reputable, I want to say few, but it's even the reputable ones testing is, the same sample is going to test differently.
Yeah.
So it's the most overregulated agricultural product on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse and overtaxed because they're greedy motherfuckers.
Ooh.
Sorry. The government, the corporations, corporate cannabis, and Nicole at the Sensi event, our hostess, our MC, the moderator of the whole amazing event, basically kind of schooled some of the business folks there on the panel. The conversation was exit strategy, getting out. These people are just getting in, just creating brands, but we've seen it from the beginning too. People that we've talked to, it's about establishing yourself, making a brand, getting some revenue, and then selling it to somebody big. That's what 90% of these companies are trying to do.
Well, maybe that's
80,
because
maybe,
they
75.
think that that's what's going to happen anyway. They don't want to lose their shirts as big business saturates the cannabis market. So while their brand is coming up and a good, strong, small business, they have to make the most of it, get as much as they can for it, and then move on and start something else. So, I can understand both sides, but quite frankly, as cannabis educators, we want to be small business operators. We want to be nonprofit operators because we want to focus on education for seniors around cannabis and how cannabis helps dementia. And I don't have a brand. I just want people to get relief. And I just want to make enough money to be able to live.
This is our brand.
Yeah. This is it. We're just talking to folks.
The 38 of you in YouTube. This is our brand, guys.
We're gonna make a documentary about how cannabis helps dementia. We wrote a script about how cannabis helps dementia. Last Resort. You guys know a little bit about that. And also we want to do a TED Talk about how cannabis helps dementia to spread the word. And that's our passion and what we want to do in the cannabis space. And I don't see, us selling our brand to anyone. That's not how it works. We would be a small business. I think that we could go the rest of our working lives with a foundation that does plant education, even just as family caregivers turned advocates. I think we could totally do that, and I'd be super happy to do that.
There's going to be no shortage of people getting dementia and needing to have their life full of joy and uplifted with cannabis, as well as everybody else in the family that's in relationship with dementia. So it heals everybody on so many levels, in everywhere, of course. But our focus, as you know, from our journey for 9 years and all through, you've been along with it. Those of you who have been with us from the very beginning, Awake A, actually one of the people who's been with us, I think, from the very beginning. Welcome back on this great day and this amazing day with you all. But yeah, we focus on Alzheimer's and education and cannabis. That's our focus. And we try to lobby. We try to go to Sacramento. We try to educate. We try to everybody we meet, literally. Hi, did you know cannabis helps dementia? On our dog walk, did you know cannabis helps that, whatever it is?
Yeah, I want T-shirts, really. Ask me how cannabis helps dementia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also cannabis helps the veterans. Cannabis helps the veterans. And we're going to play a video right now from the state of cannabis.
Yes.
From an
we totally digressed.
We digressed again. We're showing off. We're showing off for our friends and family. Yeah, this is what we do, guys. Hey, in case you didn't know, this is what we do on Sundays. Subscribe, get notifications, ring the bell. We do this every week, and we do it other times as well, always here on Facebook and multi-streaming on Facebook, Twitch, D-Live, Periscope, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. And we did cover, like bell to bell, the state of cannabis last week. I think it was last week. It might almost be 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks now.
2 weeks now.
But we're putting together some great, the panels are coming up. We're about to launch those. And we are going to play a piece of one of the panels from Eric Opel of the Veterans Cannabis Coalition. And then we're going to play a couple of interviews that our roving Reefer Revolutionary reporter got at the state of cannabis with some amazing, amazing people who were on some of the panels and youth organizers. So let's check out this first video. Thanks for watching, guys. We will check in between.
Zero discipline, this show. I'm sorry, guys.
It's, hey, you go with the you go with the flow, and you enjoy the show. That's what we do. What do we say? We have to have fun.
We are. We're having fun. That's right.
Having fun.
We're totally having fun.
I'm enjoying my lollipop, which is quite good. Not too sweet.
Play the videos.
Can't taste the THC from. I just want to shout out to
yes.
Dirty Girl Edibles 2 on Instagram. Thank you so much. Let's play the video. Here we go.
Yes.
The Veterans Cannabis Coalition, and this is very important because we all know that a lot of veterans are coming back with phantom limb pain as well as addictions to the opioid crisis, and that really is one of the biggest crises that we face, and Tulsi's going to address that later. In addition to that, he is working with this he's the CEO of Veterans Cannabis Coalition, a nonprofit advocacy group dedicated to ending cannabis prohibition and ensuring that the Department of Veteran Affairs researches and develops cannabis-based medications. Please, a big round of applause for our next speaker, Eric.
First off, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you to Ryan Bacchus from the California Cannabis Coalition, Louise Rivera from Collective Strategies, and Social Equity, LA, Ease, and Dope Magazine for sponsoring this event. My name is Eric Opel, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Veterans Cannabis Coalition. And I'll be providing an update for you all on some of the major pieces of cannabis legislation currently working its way through Congress. So as Cheryl said, the Veterans Cannabis Coalition is a nonprofit advocacy group, and our main goal is to end federal cannabis prohibition and ensure that the Department of Veterans Affairs researches and develops cannabis-based medications. We do that through three basic lines of effort: advocacy, where we work in D.C., pushing for federal cannabis reform and research. We also engage in grassroots organizing, connecting veterans, the cannabis community, and other allies, and we work to destigmatize cannabis through informational outreach. As you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, some basic stats of what the veteran population is dealing with. Half of all veterans, these are VA numbers, by the way, half of all veterans suffering from chronic pain, 20% with PTSD, 20% with traumatic brain injuries. More than 100,000 dead veterans by suicide and overdose in the last 18 years. While we have spent upwards of, by some estimates, about $4.5 trillion on the combined costs of Iraq and Afghanistan, including the veteran benefits that have gone along with that. And yet, those are our results. It was very frustrating to be working in D.C. as a veteran, and in my past position at the American Legion, working on national security and developing their opioid epidemic response policies. To keep having to hear the same refrain over and over. There's not enough research. But we need alternatives to opioids, but there's not enough research. But anecdotally, observationally, clinically, 25,000 plus studies on PubMed, there is enough research. And there is no research to justify the pharmaceutical protocols that the Department of Veterans Affairs has instituted, where a veteran, with these very common conditions, ends up on 8 to 12 medications a day, some of them being opioids, some of them being benzodiazepines, but including sedatives, stimulants, anti-anxiety meds, antidepressants, antipsychotics, anti-seizure meds, right? You can start to see how this pharmaceutical load, even in a healthy person, would drive most people to their end. And veterans already dealing with complex and co-occurring injuries are even more at risk because of that. So that brings me to one of the first pieces of legislation that we've endorsed. And this was introduced last year by Congressman Lou Correa from Santa Ana. The VA Medicinal Cannabis Research Act would essentially direct the Department of Veterans Affairs to conduct a very robust cannabis research study looking specifically at PTSD and pain. One of the good facets of this bill in particular is that it does not restrict either the synthetic or natural nature of cannabis nor the ingestion method. Last year, when this bill was introduced, it was originally sponsored by the Republican chair, and to be honest, it was in a much more mild form. This year, much more directive, and certainly carries a lot more teeth. We're excited to, this bill last year was, this picture right there, that was the hearing where the VA Medicinal Cannabis Research Act became the first standalone piece of cannabis legislation to pass out of congressional committee. That was last year. So this year, we have every expectation to see this move out of the House, and we have some relative confidence that it will also move through the Senate. And I believe that this is going to be one of the maybe two pieces of cannabis legislation that you will see passed into law before the end of 2020.
Do it.
Thank you. The next piece of legislation that we have endorsed this year is the Veterans Medical Marijuana Safe Harbor Act. What this bill would do, and feel free to consider this a little bit of a carve-out specifically for veterans, but it would essentially legalize possession, transportation, and use federally for veterans, or at least protect them from federal prosecution. There's a massive issue with veterans dealing with the VA and being unable to honestly talk to their doctors about their cannabis use, or more often than not, even be able to get any kind of relevant or accurate information from their doctors about cannabis. The endocannabinoid system is a bodily system that has existed in humans. It exists in all mammals, I believe, for hundreds of thousands, millions of years. And yet, most doctors in the United States and globally do not have any real understanding of it, right? And this is a system that impacts so many bodily processes, which is why it's so effective for veterans, because we are dealing with so many issues at the same time. A broad, what I would refer to as a broad spectrum therapeutic like cannabis is so effective, because a lot of the issues that we're dealing with are co-occurring, as I said, and aggravating one another. So anything to provide that kind of relief is a massive, enables a massive improvement in a veteran's quality of life. So the VA Medical Marijuana Safe Harbor Act would also direct the VA to do another study on veterans in pain and the relationship between, as it says, medical marijuana programs and a reduction in opioid use among veterans. Previously, the National Institute for Drug Abuse has funded a couple studies in the last 2 years that have shown, looking specifically at Colorado, the reduction in opioid use, the reduction in opioid fatalities or opioid-related fatalities, the reduction in opioid prescription, where, since the legalization of cannabis in that state. So the expectation is that this substitution effect will occur at an even far greater scale if you were to actually make cannabis easily accessible. But of course, Congress loves to delay, so we have to run through these hoops, at least at the moment. Well, hopefully our next president will be far more in favor of cannabis legalization. And looking at the Democratic field, it's a strong bet that the next president will be the one that signs cannabis legalization into law. Which brings me to the last bill that I'm going to speak on today, which is H.R. 1588, the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act. Now, there's been several bills that have gone through Congress in the last few sessions that have all tried to figure out what the best approach to, legalizing cannabis is going to look like. In our, professional opinion, this is the best route to go about. It's a clean deschedule, and it would essentially cement the protections that are already protections that states already provide to their citizens and prevent federal interventions in those instances. But I'm not going to go too much detail about that because we have a far better expert to address that. So I'll leave you with a couple thoughts here. I try to present this in as stark as terms as possible. Cannabis prohibition is killing Americans. Okay, every day. This delay, this deny, this wait for research, right? Again, 100,000 dead veterans in 18 years. This is not an issue that just gets better. And you can see that, despite the fact that, I'm at the tail end of the millennial generation, Congresswoman as well, also a veteran, at the tail end of this generation. And we're now starting to deal with the impact of what, 18 years in Iraq and Afghanistan look like. A lot of the impacts are not felt immediately. It takes, there are sometimes years of delay. And that's why, the 18 to 34 suicide rate among male veterans is now something along the lines of 1.5, essentially, 150% above their peers. So the anecdotal, observational, clinical evidence, right? It all points in the same direction. This is not a conversation that we need to have where we need to argue on the semantics. This is a very straightforward message that anyone who's interested in advocacy should be delivering on a regular basis. That this prohibition, this delay is killing people. And to deny that, or to say that you care about veterans, or that you care about the opioid epidemic, or that you care about any of these public health things, or challenges or crises that are affecting millions of Americans every day, legalize cannabis. That's the answer. So, thank you very much. Some of our, contact information, and you can find us on all social media. So, thank you for your time, and again, thank you to Luis and Ryan for inviting me to speak, and I'm looking forward to the keynote. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Maha.
Hi.
We are here. Reefer Revolution is here at the State of Cannabis, a very exciting conference with legislative updates and medical and social justice. Maha is the founder of Canna Club at UCLA and at 9 schools now.
7
schools.
Yeah,
Seven
we'll
schools.
get there. We're still expanding.
So tell us about what you guys are doing at Canna Club.
So we started at UCLA a year and a half ago. We have academic cannabis classes. We host informational panels. We have job fairs, fundraisers, really anything cannabis related, we try to do it. We had a Cannabis 101 curriculum last year. Part of that curriculum is now approved and accredited class now.
Wow, that's a big deal. That's a big deal at a place like UCLA.
Exactly. And now we're doing Growing 101 classes at UCLA, so we're going to learn how to grow weed on campus.
That's awesome.
Which is crazy. And we're doing that with THC Design. So it's really great working with companies and brands now, co-marketing opportunities with student market. The college market is ever growing and constantly just being more exposed to cannabis as these new legalization efforts come into play. Way more advocacy efforts being done by the youth. So yeah, we just recently spread to USC. We want to share our whole template of education, information, and spread that to even more schools.
It's interesting that you've spread to USC, that crosstown rival. How's that going?
The one thing that brought UCLA and USC together is cannabis. So.
Oh, isn't that the case for everybody, right? That's awesome. Well, cool. I'm super stoked to hear an update on what you're doing with Canna Club. How can people reach you?
So we have a website. It's only for UCLA. We're working on a centralized one, but we have cannaclub@ucla.org. And on Instagram, we're cannaclub.ucla, and there's a cannaclub.usc. There are other campuses coming through as well with their Instagrams, but it's all cannaclub. Whatever school it is. That's what we're doing.
Good job. Thank you so much for all that you do, Maha. Thank you. Hi, Ariel Clark.
Hi.
We are here at the State of Cannabis. And Ariel Clark was on a panel today, and it was amazing and awesome, and it was all legally and stuff, and I don't really understand those things, but what I really want to ask you is if you could tell us a little bit more about what is happening with Indian tribes and getting into the cannabis space.
Sure,
very few people know about that.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Tribes in California, there are about 116 tribes in California, 106 depending on kind of whether they're recognized or not and kind of what status they have. Huge swath of the population in the United States is in California. So we're in California, the biggest state, the biggest cannabis state in the country, lots of tribes here, lots of indigenous land here. Tribes in California, in this enormous state, this multi-billion-dollar industry, are excluded right now from the cannabis market to sell into the cannabis market. So all of the economic opportunities that they could enjoy by cultivating cannabis and selling into the regulated market and selling at retail establishments across the state of California to other Californians, they are excluded from that. Tribes were completely left out of Prop 64. The only way for a project on land to sell into the regulated market is if the tribe basically waives its sovereignty, which is their identity as a nation. And it is so completely out of hand, so beyond the pale that in California, where we have clients that are second and third generation farmers, and I know from tribal elders that there are native people who have used cannabis and other plant medicine for thousands of years, that in this state where people are cultivating cannabis and where they are selling cannabis and they're engaged in the retail cannabis market, that there is not a crossover and a fix for projects that are on tribal land through some sort of government-to-government relationship like we see in Washington or Oregon or other states where the tribes are able to sell into the regulated market and they have figured out a fix, and tribes are good at regulating very highly regulated industries. So tribes unable to do it or not sophisticated enough, which is some of the things that we've been hearing. And also there's all concern amongst the cannabis industry itself, and has been, of a fear, and it comes from this fear of not having enough. Fear that products that are generated from tribal land will be cheaper, and so that they will not be able to compete. When we see other states have created this fix, that we don't have this fix in California is absolutely problematic. That stems from huge amounts of racism that have been endemic in our state, racism against tribes, not thinking about Native people as entitled to these ideas of social equity and social justice, which thank God we're having conversations about. But these issues need to be front and center. We're not asking for something special. We're just asking to be able to participate as regulated businesses in the California cannabis market. In good news, I know we like good news. There was federal legislation introduced that would enable tribes who want to participate in the cannabis industry to not be afraid that there are certain federal grant monies would get pulled. So hopefully we'll see that federal legislation progress, because a lot of tribes across the country are a little concerned about, should I get involved in cannabis? If I do, I have these certain government grants and government monies, then will those get pulled? We kind of can't, that seems not worth it. But for a lot of tribes, like for example in California, where 80% of California Indians are at or below the poverty level, and a lot of tribes, their land, of course, is far out, far away from any sort of like metropolitan areas, that could be a great opportunity for cultivation, manufacturing, or other projects. And you know, it also could be a benefit to cannabis operators, because still only 30% of California local jurisdictions, cities and counties in California, are even issuing business licenses. So we have prohibition in 60% of the state. If tribes would be able to issue licenses to businesses that could then sell into the regulated market, that's a win-win for the cannabis industry. So hopefully people in the industry, hopefully people within government, hopefully kind of across the board, we will see that this only is an opportunity that can't be ignored. And in one other piece of good news, the hemp bill, the farm bill, the farm bill, the farm bill allows tribes to develop their own hemp legislation, just like states. So right now, tribes are in the process of doing that, and they will be able to participate in and have their own projects. They will not need to in any way go and ask permission of the state of California or any state. They just submit a pretty straightforward plan to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, like states. So we'll see more opportunities in that area.
Okay, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Reefer Revolution.
I'm glad to be a Reefer Revolution.
You are a Reefer Revolutionary,
Yes.
An original Reefer Revolutionary. Tell us a little bit about the Brownie Mary Democratic Club.
Brownie Mary Democrats are one of 7 statewide Democratic organizations that are actually chartered by the California Democratic Party. We're part of the California Democratic Party, the party that controls the government of the 5th largest economy in the world. We get to have some insight to say that. And we work through the party to basically now implement Proposition 64 to make sure it's robustly and reasonably implemented. So access, and this is the most important thing, that people in the state of California will have local, safe, reliable, and affordable access to cannabis. And I underline the word affordable, because you know what? Nobody has any problem finding cannabis anymore in California. It's all over the problem people say is they can't afford all they need. And people who are using it, for example, for treating pain, they need to use a lot of cannabis to make up for the Vicodin, the Percocet, and the oxycodone they're not taking. But at the prices they have to pay, they can't afford all they need, and so they have to go back to Vicodin. Not a good thing.
Or to the traditional market.
Or to the illegal market, that's right.
Unregulated market.
And the thing is, that's not, there's nothing wrong, I'm not against the unregulated market. I want to see a legal market. One of the reasons Proposition 64 main arguments was we wanted it to be a legal market. We didn't want people to have to sneak around the back bars and all this kind of stuff and doing that. And so we want it to be like any other product. The problem is the way it is so structured now, it's unaffordable. And we've got to work to see to it that it can be affordable. And with a legal market, it can be affordable, extremely affordable, if it is treated like any other agricultural commodity. The problem is, at the present time, it's still treated like this special thing, because there's still a lot of reefer madness out there. But once they start treating cannabis like tomatoes and Brussels sprouts and broccoli, the price is going to plummet, and no one will ever say, I can't afford all the cannabis I need to treat my ailments.
True story. True story. We believe in the tomato model for cannabis. We really do. Tell me, how do you guys organize to move things forward on a local level? How can people in LA, say, start doing better work like you guys are doing in San Francisco?
Well, the thing is, you want to have the politicians in office who support access. And if the people sitting on your city council, your county boards, oppose reasonable and rational regulations for cannabis, then you got to get there and vote them out of office if they're not going to change their mind. So you have to get involved politically. And we're the Democratic Party, and that's who I work with. So if they're ever interested in getting Democrats elected to local office, get hold of me. And I will just turn them on to local Democrats in their community who can work with them to get people elected to office who will support rational and reasonable regulations. That's what Democrats do. That's what I do. I live in Riverside County, and I work with local elected officials to see to it that elected officials are elected to office who support that. And one of the things we do is the Riverside County Democratic Party always sends out an endorsement of candidates, and one of the questions that the party always asks any prospective candidate wants their endorsement is their position on access to cannabis under reasonable regulations. And if they give them a bad answer, they don't get the endorsement.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit how cannabis helps dementia. You're an RN. You've been in the medical field a long time. Have you seen anybody benefit from cannabis when they have dementia? Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, it's cannabis is not, first of all, it helps with dementia. You know, if you're suffering from dementia, it can help you just feel better and less anxious. You know, people with dementia are very anxious, and cannabis reduces anxiety. But one of the things, dementia comes a lot from Alzheimer's, and cannabis has been shown, research study after research study, that people who use cannabis are less likely to develop Alzheimer's. And the reason is that one of the precursors to Alzheimer's is the formation of a protein plaque on the brain. It's almost always there before Alzheimer's develops. And the cannabinoids in cannabis actually inhibit the development of that protein plaque. So people who use cannabis are going to be preventing the development of Alzheimer's. And this is one of the things that people don't seem to understand about cannabis. We talk about cannabis for curing cancer and all these things. Cannabis is really a preventative. It's the use of cannabis that prevents cancer. It's the use of cannabis that prevents the development of dementia. It's the use of cannabis that can help mitigate pain. It's not going to stop pain because cannabis doesn't treat arthritis, but it can help mitigate the pain. And this is what but the point is that the use of cannabis is, you don't take cannabis to cure something, you take cannabis to prevent something. And that means you need to be using cannabis over a long period of time, 10, 15, 20 years. You got to use it. Yeah. That way you'll prevent the development of cancer, you'll prevent the development of Alzheimer's and dementia. An ounce of prevention, right?
Yes, an ounce. And we got to bring the cost of that ounce way down so people can afford the ounce.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for chatting with us. I'm so happy that you're in Riverside. I thought you were in San Francisco for some reason.
I'm Riverside. Actually, I'm out of Palm Springs, but Riverside County. Yeah.
Far out. Well, I hope to get together.
Well, let me
tell
people want any information.
Please, yes.
They want to get information. They can reach me at info@browniemarydemocrats.org, or they can go to our website, which is www.browniemarydemocrats.org. Get involved politically if you're having political problems in your community and you've got jerks on the city council and even bigger jerks on the county boards. Contact me and I will put you in touch with local Democrats who are working to elect reasonably sane and non-reefer mad people to local office.
Awesome. I'm going to reach out to you about a district attorney to run against Jackie Lacey.
Okay.
I really am.
That's what we do.
I'm dead serious about it. We need a new DA.
Yeah, we're always finding this is what we do. And that's what I was able to do. I mean, I really made Riverside County, which was a fairly conservative county.
Yes.
It turned them into this thing now where they advocate on behalf of access to marijuana. It's amazing. If you don't support it, you ain't going to get the party's endorsement anymore. And that means a lot, because like one of the things we did this year is we distributed door hangers where I live in Riverside County to every Democratic door. And on the thing is the listing of candidates who support, who the Democratic Party supports. So you want to get on that list. It gets on the doors of every Democrat, and it really influences us. You better support what the party supports, and the party supports access to marijuana.
Awesome. How does your Democratic club feel about Tulsi Gabbard?
Well, we certainly would. We will support any candidate that supports cannabis. And the fact of the matter is, the one unifying thing that seems to run across every single presidential contender for the Democratic nomination is they support marijuana legalization.
To some degree or another.
Yeah, there's some more than others, but they all, none of them are saying, oh no, we should be status quo, keep it illegal. None of them say that at all anymore. Even Joe Biden has now said, well, I was wrong on the way we did the drug war and all this kind of stuff.
No, Joe Biden.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. What I'm saying is,
you'd never get my vote.
This has become one of the things that it's sort of like Medicare for all and income equality and this kind of stuff, ending the war on drugs and the legalization and mainstream of marijuana is kind of a standard Democratic Party position for anybody to take nowadays.
That would be a nice Democratic Party.
Yeah, well,
I would like that.
Yeah, so that's what you're saying. I mean, they even have it's milquetoast in the Democratic national position. I mean, it's in there, but it's milquetoast, unlike the Californians, which is very strong.
And why is it still on the Schedule 1 in California? We can take it off the Schedule 1 in California.
Is it still on the Schedule 1?
It is still on the Schedule 1. I just went in February.
If it is, I want to look into that, because if it is, I want to work to get it taken off. Because right now it's legal everywhere in California. Even if it's on Schedule 1, nobody's paying any attention to it.
Doctors still pay attention to it.
Well, doctors.
People in nursing homes can't get it.
No, that's not because of California. That's because of federal. The problem is that in every hospital, every nursing home, they all get federal money because they have Medicare patients and they have Medicaid patients. And if they allow cannabis to use, they can lose all this federal money. That's why it's there. We need to get it off the Schedule Controlled Substances in Washington. And that's why one of the things that Ms. Gabbard's bill talked about, 15 something or other, would do. It would remove cannabis from the Schedule Controlled Substance. If that happens, essentially the federal government is out of marijuana prohibition.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's all hope.
It's the number one thing that needs to be done. Number
100%.
one.
Lanny Swerdlow.
Swerdlow.
Sorry.
It's all right. We've been having trouble with people's last names today.
Brownie. I wonder why. It might be the sucker.
I had trouble spelling Eric Gopal's last name. Yeah. Sorry, I wanted to get it right. You heard the backstage version of that stuff. What can I tell you? It's what it is.
You can't get it wrong, and you can't, and it's never done.
It's what it is. We're real people. You guys know we are. Anyway, we had a great time interviewing all those folks. It was an incredible event, the State of Cannabis. It was really, really great that they got all those incredible people together.
The Brownie Mary Democrats, the good Democrats in California. Their focus is cannabis, and they are a chartered California Democratic group, right? With the party, it's the largest one.
Yeah. Look them up.
And what a great rep for spokesperson.
Yeah, Lanny's great.
And then, of course, Canna Club.
I had a great time talking to him. It was wonderful.
Canna Club at UCLA.
A great time talking to Maha. She's terrific.
And you can find all of them on Instagram on cannaclub.ucla, and there's also cannaclub.usc, and I think UCSC.
A bunch of them. Just look for Canna Club in your area and see if there's one at your school.
And the amazing Ariel Clark.
Incredible.
Getting a chance to talk about a subject she doesn't get to talk about much, and we were really you are good, Chela. You're a good interviewer. Honey. You're an excellent interviewer, and you asked an amazing question of Ariel that is, she's passionate about, and it's an issue that's overlooked and never talked about.
I'm passionate about it, too. It's total bullshit that Native tribes are not allowed to participate in the California market.
In the chat,
it's insane.
In the chat,
everyone agrees.
We're talking about it.
Everyone agrees. So yeah, it's total horseshit. So listen, guys, I would love it. My birthday's this week. It was 4/20 Saturday.
What?
We all appreciate the plant. I would love it if you all would write your elected officials from your, local sheriff all the way up to the governor in your state, your city council members, your county supervisors, your governor, your elected assembly members, your Senate. It would be great if you wrote to your national elected officials and to 45 himself about the benefits of cannabis. And wait, there's even one more, and the most important, probably the first one I want you to do. Write to the FDA cite some scientific stuff about CBD. And there's tons of stuff to cite. Go on PubMed or go to projectcbd.org and you can find something. Dave's going to show you, right?
Yep.
Are you showing him right now?
The link is there.
You see?
The link is in the description of today's video for the FDA. We always drop the FDA comment link in the description when they are asking for it, because we got to get these buggers on board, because they're flummoxed. They're forsnickled and flummoxed over CBD. The CBD is making them crazy over at the FDA. So tell them they want scientific data and information about products containing cannabis or cannabis-derived compounds. Public hearing. Let me read a little bit about this, because there's more opportunities than one would think to get this in. Now, you have to get, if you want, the public hearing is going to be on May 31st, 2019, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., I'm assuming Eastern time. And we will bring that to you if I can get it. If it is indeed public, if it's on C-SPAN or something or wherever it's at, I'll grab it and we'll put it up on the channel. So we'll do that on May 31st. But up until then,
we have a virtual dementia tour on May 31st.
Oh, we do?
Just saying.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
we'll do our best.
We may not stream it then. Maybe we'll stream it later. But the Food and Drug Administration is taking scientific data. If you've got reports, you can submit files, you can submit testimony, written testimony, just comments. They're really looking for scientific stuff. So if you're a lab, like Alan, who I met at the party yesterday, who's got a bunch of scientific data about the benefits of cannabis or a cannabis-derived compound, you should probably want to have somebody either talk at this public comments. You can
write testimony at least.
Write testimony at least. If you want
Holy
it to
cannabis
be
oil has science
part of the public hearing, it has to be in by May 10th for the May 31st hearing. But
Holy cannabis oil, I want you to write these guys a note.
But you will be able to, comments will be accepted until July 2nd, 2019.
Yeah, well, no time like the present.
But if you want to get it, in time or submit it for or be at the public testimony on May 31st, you have to get it in by May 10th. So that's the action item for today, is in addition to our regular talk to your local politicos, city, state, and federal, in your district about getting cannabis off the schedule. Support HR 1588 is what Lanny was saying, referring to the Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act. Trump, a.k.a.
No, don't call it that, because nobody knows what that is.
Nobody knows what that is.
So let's just call it what it is.
Tell them you heard it was called the Total Repeal of Unjust Marijuana Prohibition.
Marijuana Prohibition Act. Federal Ending Marijuana Prohibition Act.
That's right. That's what it's called.
Federal Ending Marijuana Prohibition Act.
Say that 20 times fast.
You have to remember what it is.
Listen, we're going to get into the we got to get into the afterburn. It's time.
Yep. So, write all your people. Have a great week. Take good care.
But don't go anywhere.
We're going to restart the stream in a second.
We must stop the stream in order to bring you the news from around the country.
Jake, rejoin in a second.
Jake, did you just get here, Jake?
Jake just got here. He's like, I'm always so late.
Jake.
Right, Jake.
Hey, unlike, I suppose when I have 5,000 patrons, maybe we'll do this, but our live stream is immediately available. You can rewind and watch it, but please join us live for the afterburn. We're going to, this is our first part of the show. Hope you enjoyed it all. We talked about the news at a Cannabis Chronicle. Subscribe over there.
But today was an hour and a half.
At DC420LA.com. Subscribe here to the channel. Make sure you thumbs up before we turn off. Thumbs up the stream. Make sure we get that in there. Get that algorithm going. Although I hear you got to get to 500 to do that. But give a thumbs up. Give a subscribe for this broadcast. We are going to shut it down. Stay where you are. You might have to refresh on the channel, but we'll be back live on the first page in about 2 minutes for the afterburn. So thanks for watching, guys. This is Reefer Revolution. Reefer Revolution live Sundays 4:20 Pacific on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, DLive, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. We'll see you in just a couple of minutes for the afterburn. Blunt commentary on marijuana in the mainstream media. We've got stories in Alabama. We've got Acreage Holdings with that big merger buyout. Let's talk about it all for the afterburn. See you in a couple of minutes. Free the plant, free the people. Pot for peace. Nice sucker. I think I'm gonna have another gummy too.
My shirt's falling off.
Well, it's not that kind of show.
No, not that kind of show.
All right.
All right, we'll see you soon.